Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nissa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. Currently doing Vlogmas, but also with our regularly scheduled videos in amongst it all. So today's video is actually a what we eat in a week. So I'm trying to do these about once a month, sort of in the middle of our grocery period of time, because that's when we're a bit more creative about what we're eating. Though looking back at this week, it's been a bit of a flat week for me in the way of food and things like that. It's been a bit of a flat week all over. I think it's just a little bit of the frustration with the garden, the planning of Christmas and everything else. There has been less brain power used in food, but it's still worth sharing because I put it all together and it's a lot of work to put together. But also, I'm going to do this one now, and then I will do one maybe in the week, in the lead up and over Christmas, because that's when we eat a lot of different foods that we don't normally eat, which might still be simple, but things that we don't eat the rest of the year, so that's worth documenting as well. So my next one will be, I'll probably put it out late December, sort of thing. But this one is for the week just finished. So we're sort of 2/3 of the way through the grocery period. Hamper is this Sunday, so we haven't had the hamper in this section either, though we did use some items that we got from the previous hamper, and we haven't done any groceries for a while. Like, we're using what we had. As I said, it's a little bit of a flat week for food. I got Daryl to do a bunch of stuff because I just wasn't feeling it, but I'm going to share, and it might give some inspiration for people on things that they can make for their meals nice and easy, with stuff that you have already got, because that's the whole point, is that we only shop every 6 to 8 weeks, which means that we're cooking from what's in our kitchen all the time, except for that first week when we're trying to process all the stuff that we got. So enjoy watching, and I will see you guys again tomorrow, and thank you. So I have been experimenting with sourdough sandwich bread, so that pops up a few times in this week because I have been fiddling with the new loaf tins, the cast iron loaf tins that I got, and getting this right. So the breakfast/lunch today, so I probably should have said that Daryl and I only really eat 2 meals a day, so what I'm showing you is our brunch, breakfast, lunch, and our dinners, and the kids eat porridge, cereal, all that sort of thing for breakfast as well, leftovers, and various snacks throughout the day. So this is just the 2 main meals that we have in a day. So I've been slicing up the sandwich bread. I'm using the new Victorinox gifted bread knife, which is just wonderful to cut this bread with. It is just, I'm really happy with these knives. They were gifted, so they are, they were given to me to try, but I really, really like them. So using the new Victorinox bread knife here, and it was fresh sandwich bread straight out of the barbecue, so it's a little bit dense, a little bit gummy because of that, and it was served with eggs, chicken and pesto, and whatever we had that was in the fridge. Dinner that night was sourdough pizza, which I forgot to film, but this is a photo of my pizza, the one with cheese, from that evening. The next day I made up some dal. So the dal that I make is done with coconut cream, it's done with tomato, Malaysian style, the Babas meat, curry powder and things like that. It's a Malaysian style dal done with lentils, and we serve that with some roti. The roti is from Costco. It comes raw, individually wrapped, and you just fry it off in a pan. Some of the marinated chicken thighs, and we serve that up like that. For dinner that night, we had mashed potatoes with steamed veggies. These are just frozen veggies that have been steamed with meatballs, and these are the meatballs that I made last week or whenever and put the portions in the freezer, and I've just defrosted them during the day, and then I warm them up in gravy mix for dinner and serve them in the gravy over the top of the veggies and the mashed potato. The gravy mix is just the Maggi rich gravy that I buy from Costco that's totally no good for you, but it's so super tasty. So we just did that for dinner. I will say too that most of the meals that I show you where there's only 2 plates, that's because I've already served the kids. So I've done that in a hurry and then just served up 2 prettier plates to show you as I'm making up Daryl's and mine. But theirs is either served on the table for them to serve themselves or on plates for them to eat as well, and they're eating exactly the same thing. The next day was more of the sourdough sandwich bread. So I've been, as I said, a few times it pops up because I'm working on the recipe and what works for us, as well as these new loaf tins, and we just served it with eggs and bacon this morning for lunch. I have plenty of eggs at the moment, obviously, because we've got so many chickens and it's the right season for it, and we still have some bacon left from shopping so far. For dinner that night, we did Kahlua pork in the pressure cooker. So Kahlua pork is basically chunks of pork with you put bacon down in the bottom, put the pork on top, and then you put pink salt over the top and some garlic cloves in the pork. You can do it in your slow cooker. I did it in the pressure cooker, and I might need to buy myself a small stainless steel pressure cooker because I'm using my Canis, which are also cookers here, but they're an awfully large size for the quantity that I'm cooking. And then once it's cooked, it all just shreds. It's really, really good, really simple. And for dinner, we served that with the dairy-free mac and cheese that I make. So it is I make it using basically a white sauce concept with using coconut cream and stock and nutritional yeast, onion powder, garlic powder, smoked paprika, a bit of turmeric for colour if you want to make it that sort of yellowy cheesy colour as well, though the nutritional yeast does bring out some colour in it too. And then I cook that white sauce up. I mix the macaroni noodles through it and I top it with a seasoned breadcrumb mix. So this is sourdough that I've crumbed up in my Thermomix, and then I have added a little bit of brown sugar, onion, garlic, smoked paprika and things like that to the breadcrumbs as well, that I put on the top and spray with a bit of oil, and they come up nice and crispy on the top of the baked mac and cheese. I make 2 trays of this whenever I make it so that I have leftovers. So we served up the Kahlua pork with the dairy-free mac and cheese for dinner for this night, and it was cooked in the barbecue like normal in the enameled cast iron pans. The next day for lunch we had sourdough flatbread. So I make my sourdough dough overnight to use for flatbreads. I make it the day before, use it the next morning, and it can go in the fridge, whatever's left over as well. And we used the leftover Kahlua pork on these flatbreads. We used coleslaw, which is the pickled coleslaw that I had canned last week or the week before as well, and Daryl had some of the sauerkraut that I had also made a couple of weeks ago. I prefer the coleslaw to the sauerkraut. He prefers the sauerkraut. So we had that on the flatbreads with the leftover Kahlua pork from the night before. Then for dinner, we had some chicken legs that were come from the hamper last month that were in the freezer. I had pulled them out the day before to defrost, and Sonnet helped me marinate the chicken legs. So this is sort of a honey miso marinade. It goes nice and sticky when you cook it. She coated all the chicken legs in the marinade, and then we put them in the baking tray, and then I reheated the other tray of mac and cheese that they hadn't eaten the day before. So they had the leftover dairy-free mac and cheese with the chicken legs for dinner that night. The next day we had Dutch baby pancakes. So I had made up some faux maple syrup. So I did a sugar syrup using maple essence to make up a maple flavored syrup that we're trying out because maple syrup is just so expensive at the moment. And I made the Dutch baby pancake. Our Dutch baby pancakes are full tray sized, and I do them with 18 eggs and cook them in the barbecue, and they're very nice. They're very custardy and dense, and everyone really enjoys them. So we had Dutch baby pancake with the homemade maple syrup. We sometimes have it with bacon or with canned fruit or whatever else. Today it was just on its own. I rolled out some sourdough pasta sheets to use for dinner. So my sourdough pasta, I do 400 grams of flour, 100 grams of sourdough starter, 3 eggs, and a dash of oil. And then I bring it together and I let it sit on the bench for about 4 hours so that it ferments and it will change texture slightly. After that, I either put it in the fridge and do it the next day, or I do it the same day, either way. And then I roll it out with my KitchenAid pasta roller. So this is my the attachment for the KitchenAid with the pasta roller on it is what I use for that, and I roll it out into sheets and then I cut it depending on what we're using it for. For today's, we're doing lasagna soup, so I just rolled it out into sheets and hung it till I was ready to cut it up, and then went and made lasagna soup. So the lasagna soup that I made, I pulled out some of the bolognese that was in the freezer that I had already made. So it was a beef and barley bolognese full of vegetables and stuff that was in the freezer. I had made a ham stock because I had a ham bone from the ham on the bone that we had bought last shopping trip. So I had a ham bone, so I made ham stock out of that with the bone and some vegetables and stuff, just the same way as I make chicken stock in the pressure cooker canner. I made the ham stock for that, so I added that to the bolognese mix to turn it more into a soup, and then added some extra flavour and stuff as needed, some Worcestershire sauce and some paprika and salt and things like that just needed to boost the flavour up, because it was now a soup rather than bolognese with pasta. And then once you've got that how you want it and you've got it sort of simmering, then you add your pasta directly into the soup, and it thickens the soup up and cooks the pasta in the soup. So we had that for dinner. I had leftover sourdough dough in the fridge from when we'd had it for breakfast, so I rolled some of that out to make flatbreads to go with the lasagna soup, and I put some of my smoked garlic paste on that to eat with it. The next day we had a frittata. So we eat frittatas very regularly because we have a lot of eggs, generally speaking. So it's a nice, cheap, easy, filling meal to have for breakfast. I use 12 eggs and half a tin of coconut cream to make my egg mix. That's all I do, and we put whatever we have in it. So I put in, today was some ground pork that I had cooked up, that I'd ground from one of the pork legs that we had bought, and I'd minced up, and then I had seasoned and cooked. So I had some cooked minced pork that was already seasoned, silver beet and kale from the garden, just sliced up nice and fine, some caramelized onion, a bit of bacon and tin corn, and the kids cooked that up for me in the pan till the greens were wilted and everything was blended through, the bacon was cooked, the onion was caramelized, all that sort of thing. So we cooked that off in the cast iron pan, and then we split it evenly between the two pie dishes. Now, I did have two of these nice blue pie dishes, but they are just ceramic, and one got broken recently. So the red one is an enameled cast iron one, and it's probably a better choice for out here anyway, and I probably need to get myself a second one. But I haven't found another one at a decent price yet. So I just split the toppings between the two, and then I pour the egg mix over the top of those and put them in the barbecue to cook. Once they're cooked, we pull them out and we serve them. These were a little overcooked. I think I walked away and forgot that they were in the oven, to be honest. So they're a little brown on top, but perfectly fine. They're not burnt at all, just a bit browner than I would like. And we slice it up and we serve it with some duck egg mayo drizzled over the top, sometimes with a salad if we've got salad goods. But as we all know, my garden is not doing what it's supposed to do, so I don't even have fresh tomatoes or anything like that, which is really sad, because normally we'd be slicing tomatoes and cherry tomatoes by the handful at the moment. But anyway, and I would have put cherry tomatoes in the top of the frittata. That's always really nice. So that was lunch. And dinner that night, we had the standard pesto pasta that I always really like to make. So I had some of the sourdough pasta left over from the night before that I had hung to dry. So the pesto pasta that we make there's a short on the channel with it, but you basically put egg yolks, a little bit of olive oil, lemon juice, pesto, and parmesan if you want to use parmesan, or nutritional yeast if you want to use nutritional yeast, salt, pepper, that sort of thing. We really like to add cowboy candy brine to it as well, and you whisk it all up into a bowl. Then you cook your pasta, and what you do is you place your pasta while it's boiling into your egg mix, and it will cook the egg mix and turn it into a nice creamy sauce, very much like a carbonara, if you're doing a carbonara properly, where it's using the eggs to make the sauce and not a cream. So you place the pasta into it and you move it around, and it cooks the eggs and creates this really lovely creamy pesto sauce. The kids I made spirals with because I didn't have enough sourdough pasta for everyone, but when I was filming it, obviously the steam was going the wrong direction and the camera completely fogged up. So I don't have footage of the kids one, but it's exactly the same. premise, a lot bigger bowl, and I used the same. I think I used 8 egg yolks and then the pesto and all the rest of it, and I mix it up, and then I put the hot spiral pasta straight into the bowl and mix it up. You can add more pasta water to loosen it up if it's a little bit gluggy or thick, and then keep on stirring around. We added marinated chicken to this. Sometimes I add corn, frozen, your diced frozen vegetables. Sometimes we have spinach in it. We have whatever is available at the time to eat with it. Lunch the next day, I forgot to film it all because Daryl prepped it for everyone, and it was basically just leftover pasta from the night before. The kids eat the spiral pesto pasta cold as like a pasta salad, and there was some sourdough left as well, so we made some more flatbreads up with the sourdough to have with that as well. Then for dinner we had a beef and bacon pie. So I made the short crust pastry that I always make, that I spent many months trying to figure out the best recipe for not sourdough. I haven't mastered sourdough. It's just plain short crust pastry, but I spent ages trying to get it right. So what I use is 400 grams of flour with 60 grams of lard and 60 grams of olive oil, and then 110 grams of icy water and pinch of salt. And I bring it together like I do my pasta into the little balls, and then I put it out on a dough mat, and I bring it together into a single ball without working it too hard, stick it in the fridge, and then when I'm ready I roll it out like normal. It is perfect. I could just about take the entire pie. These family size pies could come if I let them cool long enough, but we tend to eat them boiling hot because that's what we do. But if I let it cool for long enough, I could take that whole pie out of the pan and put it on a board and cook it straight from there. I haven't been blind baking them, and they've still ended up nice and crispy in the bottom, and I'm really happy with this recipe. So if you haven't had one that works dairy free, give that one a go, because I really am just thrilled with how that works out. I used puff pastry on the top, and it's just store-bought puff pastry. I don't bother with puff pastry. I can buy store-bought dairy free vegan puff pastry in fairly bulk amounts at Costco very inexpensively. So that's what I do. So I put puff pastry on the top, and I just kind of creatively, but just do it with the short crust into the puff pastry to seal the pie up, and then put a cut in the top of the puff pastry to let some steam out. Once it was cooked, we served it up with mashed potato. So I should have done some greens or some steamed veg or something with this, and I didn't. I was just slack, and by the time I thought about it, it was already ready and we were ready to eat, and that's it wasn't. So the pie just has beef mince with bacon, onion, mushrooms, a gravy mix, just cooked up and made into the right texture for pie. I didn't even make it early enough to get it fully chilled. I ended up putting it into the pie crust warm, and we still had nice crispy pie crust. So as I said, I'm really happy with the pastry mix, and it was very tasty. It was probably heavier on the meat than, like, it used a fair amount of meat, but we did make 2 pies, and we did have the leftovers for lunch the next day with something else. So it did still make the 2 meals, but I think I might have used 1 kilo of mince between the 2, which is a fairly large amount of mince for the style of meal that I was making in general compared to what I do. So that was our meals for the week. Hopefully everything was give some inspiration there. I am really trying to get the blog going so that all these recipes that I share, I can just put links to them so that whenever you want to look for them, you can just click through to the website. I'm just running out of time. Really trying, but I am definitely running out of time. I definitely am going to have to put my expectations on the wayside of getting the blog to be the right style for what people who like the long formats and all that sort of stuff. I'm just not going to get there. So I just need to get it pretty enough to satisfy me, and then I just put the recipes up with not much else on there just to get it up and going so that people can click through and find those recipes, because I hate even sometimes I sit there and I go, have I written it down? And if I haven't, I have to go looking through my old videos to sit there and go, did I write it down here? Or so I hate doing that. So I can imagine that everyone else does as well. So I'm going to get that sorted. I need to redo the links in my comments too. Apparently a whole bunch of the products are no longer available. So I am getting there. It's all the admin stuff that I just... getting the videos out daily is hard work as it is, plus, you know, just life in general. So the admin stuff that I really need to do, because it helps create an income, which helps me to be able to put other stuff aside to keep on doing this, which is what we enjoy doing. So I do need to get the Amazon stuff sorted, the blog sorted, affiliate links and all that sort of stuff sorted, and I will try and get there. Maybe I'll make it like a New Year's thing after we get through the Vlogmas, I'm not sure, but I am trying. So I will see you on the next video, hoping to make something really nice today to share, a sweet treat. So we will see how we go and share it tomorrow. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you again later.